Which conspiracy theory is so believable that it might be true? The Reddit search function is intentionally bad, or not purposely bad, but they know how to fix it but refuse to encourage more new posts. PETA is controlled opposition run by the meat industry designed to make animal rights activists look bad. Cops go on ways and leave random police sightings to cause people to slow without actually having to stay and check on people. Michael Jordan's first retirement was actually a suspension by the NBA because of his gambling. The real reason Apple removed the headphone jack was to try to remove Square Payzy stems as a competitor for Apple Pay. Rob Gronkowski didn't actually injure his groin after scoring his 69th career touchdown. He just thought it would be funny/appropriate. Trader Joe's makes their parking lots small on purpose to make them seem more popular than they really are. Kyle Kinane. D.B. Cooper. The gentleman that disappeared with 200K after jumping out of a Boeing 727 that he had hijacked, took the money and created www.imdb.com. YouTube in a mobile browser is so shitty so they can force you to use the app and not use an ad blocker. Multiple football World Cups have been influenced either by governments hosting them, or other entities out for their own gain. 2002 South Korea/Japan and 1978 in Argentina are the two most obvious ones that come to mind. Long John Silver's is some kind of money laundering scheme on the basis that they have been open for as long as I can remember, but I have also literally never seen a busy Long John's. Toxic delusion that I ironically entertain? Perhaps. The oil and coal industries invested heavily in killing off nuclear power as an attractive alternative. These days we have reactor designs many times safer than other methods of generating power. And the waste issue is something that could be fixed with sufficient investment. Bob Vance was just trying to plug his business to the cameras every time he introduced himself. The president of the Philippines, Duterte, is very anti-drugs to hide his own involvements with drug cartels off which he makes billions. Vaccines are flat, and the earth causes autism. The Laurel Canyon conspiracy. Basically, if you look at the counterculture revolutionaries in the music industry in the 60s, most of them were the children of military intelligence people. So the theory is that the free love, lots of drugs movement they inspired was done intentionally to distract the youth from a full-scale revolution. The thought was if the angry youth of the mid to late 60s were too high and getting laid all the time, they would stop caring as much about societal ills and then basically sleepwalk through the 70s. Which they did. I stumbled upon this when I was reading up on Jim Morrison and how his father was the one who called in the fake strike at the Gulf of Tonkin that kicked off the Vietnam War, and which was shown later to have been a false flag. Turns out, a lot of his contemporaries were also children of highly placed military people with ties to intelligence. Strange that they all wound up in Laurel Canyon as part of the same movement. Sometimes I really believe the rumor that Avril Lavigne died in 2003 and was replaced by her double. Other times I think it's complete BS. Depends on the day. The CIA was involved in selling crack to low-income black neighborhoods to fund activities they couldn't get approved by Congress. I mean, I'm pretty sure most people believe there was some involvement and it's just a matter of degree. But I think they were nuts deep in directly smuggling and selling crack through intermediaries to black communities with full knowledge of the Justice Department and executive branch. Women's pants pockets are significantly smaller than men's pants pockets to encourage us to buy handbags and purses. That research of thorium as a safer nuclear power source was suppressed in favor of uranium research due to uranium's ability to be weaponized. The government spreads insane conspiracy theories that conspiracy nutters will latch onto to distract from actual conspiracies, like flooding the conspiracy market to devalue conspiracies. The idea that genetics services like 23andMe may be selling records to the government and/or insurance companies. There have been cases of criminals being caught with genetic information like this /citation needed /. So it's not much of a stretch that other agencies could acquire it as well. The value of expensive art is just as a pseudo-currency for rich people to subtly buy drugs or other illicit things. Two conspiracy theorists walk into a bar. You can't tell me that was just coincidence. Man. There's an underground PR firm that helps celebrities fake their own death to escape the harshness of the limelight, or if they feel like their life is in danger. i.e. Tupac, Biggie, Paul Walker, etc. Dyson purposefully made the cable shorter over time just before announcing the cordless version. My DC01 has a 12M flex, my DC14 has a 6.5M flex. They purposefully made the flex shorter to be an inconvenience and make people want the cordless version. I don't have time to type it all out right now, but the entire situation surrounding the construction and operation of DIA, Denver International Airport, is strange, even by non-conspiracist standards. Have fun in the rabbit hole. Miley Cyrus's crazy streak was all a carefully planned marketing scheme to get her solidified as an A-list celebrity. The recommended food pyramid is created by the FDA, but the FDA is funded by a lot of certain food industries, poultry, dairy, etc. They in turn made the recommended nutrition based off of their funding by these companies, and not based on a well-balanced diet. There's a conspiracy theory that Flight 93 was shot down by hastily scrambled jet fighters and or missiles, in the interest of public safety, and that the government made up the relatively wholesome "the passengers decided to fight the hijackers and sacrifice themselves" story to keep up morale. I don't know whether it happened or not, but I can entirely believe it might be true. The Vatican holds horrible dark secrets and many answers to existential questions, and that Area 51 is a publicity stunt by the government to hide the real testing facility. All social media platforms are a direct result of Patriot Act and are used to keep tabs on everyone. Hence the billions of users, with algorithms to keep you addicted to the constant information and the dopamine-inducing likes. The ballistic missile threat that was sent to Hawaiians' cell phones saying, "Seek shelter, this is not a drill," that was later deemed a mistake, was a real missile that was intercepted before impact. That Russians are behind the anti-vax movement as a way to thin the herd immunity for the next generation of Americans. Nuclear war is old news. The next big threat will be biological. I don't really have a hypothesis as to why they would do it, but there's absolutely no way you could look me dead in the eyes and tell me that the government threw Osama bin Laden's corpse into the ocean without a tickle in the back of your mind about how ludicrously facetious that sounds. I'm not a conspiracy nut at all, and, like I said, I don't have a solid reason as to why, but as a thinking human being I just cannot bring myself to believe that. The government creates small disasters so they can frighten people and make them willingly give up their liberties in the name of safety. That big bread paid toaster manufacturers to put in a setting that is too high so that people would burn their toast, meaning that they sell more bread. There was a dude that invented a car that runs on water. He stated multiple times he would not die from natural causes and that if he dies to investigate it. A year away from putting his cars into mass production he died. Before he died he said that oil companies have threatened his life. I got this info from my dad a couple months ago, but look the dude up. Search like water car or whatever. UFOs are just time travelers from the future just checking us out. They keep their distance so not to disrupt anything and to cause a butterfly effect that may affect them. Kurt Cobain didn't kill himself. I've always been an anti-conspiracy theorist, but this legitimately haunts me. The case was opened and closed on the same fucking day. Even if you have stone cold evidence, that does not happen anywhere, especially a celebrity of this caliber. Seattle PD had a long-running reputation of corruption. According to his autopsy, Kurt had 3 times the lethal dose of heroin in his system. Not only would it have been impossible for him to be conscious, but to also be able to neatly put away his heroin kit and have the strength to pick up the shotgun and pull the trigger? Impossible. The trajectory of the shotgun shell and where it landed in the room would have been impossible had he shot himself. The shell landed as if the gun was pointed downward at him. These are just a few of the very suspicious things that occurred around this. Please watch the documentary Soaked in Bleach. It uses real audio recordings from the PI that Courtney Love hired to essentially spy on Kurt a few weeks before his death. Darth Jar Jar was totally intended to be a thing. But George Lucas chickened out after the backlash against Jar Jar/TPM and the idea never went through. I'm not saying I would bet my life savings on this one. But it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if it was someday confirmed. The main evidence that makes me think this one is likely is the fact that they actually animated him saying other characters' lines. That's not an acting mistake that slipped through the cracks. That's a conscious design choice that took time and effort to execute. Why would they do that but then never once address it? Less likely but still believable to me is that Tupac is still out there and is coming back someday, or will be revealed to have been alive this whole time after his actual death in the future. Again, I'm definitely not putting money on this one. But if it ever happened, I don't think it would faze me in the slightest. The evidence for this one is less solid. But 30 Rock did make a throwaway reference to it once. And they were right about Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby long before those stories came out, so I wouldn't be surprised if they were also right about this. I don't see them where I live now. But what I was living previously. There were a ton of these have written signs advertising that you call the number listed. And they'll pay you cash for your house. There were a few for cars too. But probably 90% of them were something along the lines of "we buy houses for cash with a number listed." No more context than that. They were all sloppily handwritten in black marker with a phone number being the biggest thing on the sign. I fully believe that they were posted to initiate some kind of secret meeting. They'd all pop up all at once just everywhere, and then most would disappear a few weeks later and then pop up again a month or two after that. The signs were so ugly that you'd have to be a complete idiot to think they were legit, so maybe they were just scamming and trying to Nigerian print it.